everybody, this is Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff. Please excuse my incredibly boring background. This is a brand new apartment. I don't have a single piece of furniture yet that I own besides this chair that I'm sitting on and these 3 lamps and cameras, so I'm just making do with what I've got. But as you remember, I had taken my iPhone 5, which was defective, had some issues with the display, issues with the backlight, really uneven backlight, was not pleasant. So it was out of warranty and I decided, you know, I don't really want to sell something defective. I hate doing that. I'm not going to get back a good amount anyway if I sell it. So I figured, why not give it away? Why not fix it and give it away? But if I was to fix it and give it away, I would need to have the parts sponsored so that I could fix the iPhone 5 up. But in order to make an interesting video to introduce the company that has sponsored me, I took the iPhone 5, took parts that I wanted to keep aside, and completely destructed the crap out of the thing. Please follow the link in the description if you want to see the ultimate iPhone 5 destruction. I did some very obnoxious things to it, but it was overall very fun. So eTradeSupply.com has sponsored me the parts to be able to put together the iPhone 5 again, get it working, and be able to give it away. eTradeSupply.com sells both aftermarket parts and OEM parts so that you can fix things like Android phones, iPhones, other things such as that. So they have supplied me with this backing here, and they were gracious enough to supply me with a brand new display. And here I've got in all these little baggies the needed parts to be able to reassemble this iPhone 5. And there's already a little bits of pieces here and there that I've started to reassemble, such as the clips. So this should be lots of fun. Let's go ahead and do that now. See if it's all nice and working, and then I will go about figuring out how to give this thing away. So let's go ahead and see how this process of putting it back together goes. Oh boy. The first thing that I want to say about this iPhone 5 that I am reconstructing is that it's going to be a special custom iPhone 5, meaning the back is going to be a silver and the front is going to be black. And we're also going to have black button accents just because I think it's going to look pretty badass. Now, I learned my lesson going with the black iPhone 5. Those poor chamfered edges just really did not stand a chance. The backing color was very dark. And because it was very dark, once that anodized aluminum started to chip, it was pretty contrasty. The difference between the black and the silverish color underneath just made it look really cheap. So with a white backing, it's just not as obvious. It will chip over time as well, as all the back covers were anodized aluminum, but really it will not stand out as much. So I'm quickly just getting those buttons into place. You can see it's a really nice contrast here. Okay, I feel like I have gotten the most brutal part done and over with. It really tested my patience. You can see that I've gotten all the buttons into place. They are indeed now working, and they look quite nice, I think, in terms of the accents. But this entire thing here is all one piece. And up in this corner, do you see that little post there? There was a hook that I had to push underneath and ever so carefully put into place without bending this microphone ribbon cable here. So now we have several pieces into place, including the microphone on the back and this entire ribbon assembly. Moving on. Now this little jobber here with the 2 screws is a little bit loose and it took absolutely forever to get back into place. But there's a little bit of foam here. It's supposed to be protecting or keeping that microphone in place. So much of this phone, like a lot of other phones, are held together with a lot of double-sided tape. This is the Wi-Fi antenna, and we're just going to stick this guy back in place very carefully. Also, I think I have soiled the camera, so it's good to just use this microfiber, try to get any fingerprints I left behind. Also, it's a good idea to use a Q-tip with isopropyl alcohol, and that won't leave behind any residue. I have just reattached the Wi-Fi antenna to the motherboard. You can see there's this really tiny little connector here. Now I've got that camera wedged back into place and the LED light. And everything else just lines up, all the screw holes, everything line up. But I have to tell you right now, this is not my favorite thing to put back together. Taking it apart was, it was all easy and stuff, but this is a monster. Now I was able to take this clip right here and push it downward. There's a little bit of double-sided adhesive. And you can see here's the cable for the Wi-Fi. It connects right in there. And it's leading right here underneath the main board. And I was able to put these 2 screws into place, holding down the LED flash, keeping everything nice and together. Now I'm finally getting a chance to screw down all those screws to hold the motherboard in place. Some things that I'd like to point out here are mechanisms like this little swivel here that works for the SIM card tray. I pre-replaced this, as well as these clips on the sides here. I had replaced all of these in the very beginning. Very many little screws and hard to keep track of everything. We've got some contacts on this vibrating motor here that need to line up right there before I screw it in. Alright, my little vibrating friend here is now well seated and ready to go. And if you've ever wondered how Apple is able to tell whether you've gotten your phone wet inside, this guy is just littered everywhere inside with these moisture indicators. Now just taking a chance to admire my work here and the fact that this is really looking like a phone now finally inside. I did not get any dust inside the camera, yay! It's funny because when I got this phone, I noticed that there was a big piece of dust inside of there and I just lived with it. So boom! Now I have replaced this tape. I'm probably going to need some double-sided adhesive. I can just get that from the store, double-sided tape to hold down the battery once I'm done. Otherwise, you can see here that there are these 2 cables here on the board. Now down here we have some washers. These are the easiest parts to lose. There's 4 of them, and they just go on their respective screw holes. Also, something to point out here is that I replaced the speaker grill and also the microphone grill. I actually took it over from the other phone and transplanted them. And they've got this mesh here that's very easily bent, and there's just double-sided adhesive holding it on, just a tacky adhesive. So I had to make sure that the mesh was as flat as possible, otherwise they just would not stick. Finally, they're sticking pretty well. Okay, so now I've got another piece that has many different pieces connected, attached finally. This is really not so easy. So we've got this large ribbon cable here. I've now pushed it down onto the main board. There's some double-sided adhesive underneath here. And then we've got several places to screw this all in place, this assembly. We've also got another cable connecting onto the main board. This is the lightning charger port. We've got a rubber gasket right here that's covering the microphone. Right here, this is for your earphones. And now I'm about to replace the loudspeaker, which is going to be right in here. Alrighty, I've now got the loudspeaker just set in place. It just easily wedged in right here. I was able to screw it in. And then we have a ribbon cable here with some contact points. Made sure that this little hole lined up. My curiosity now is to make sure that everything can plug in properly, so let's go ahead. Yeah, that works. You can see that I have put in several other screws. The washers underneath are helping to keep these screws in place. So everything looks nice and secure and looks like it's assembled correctly. Let's go ahead and test out the headphone port as well. Now, if everything is lined up correctly, this should just pop right in. And indeed it does. Good. Everything looks to be working properly. Alas, we are finally coming to a conclusion here. I just need to hook in the display and add the battery in. On the main board here, we have several connectors. And now I'm just going to simply place this guy down as well. It's just going to clip into place. And you can see their corresponding ribbon cables. We've got one for the front-facing camera, one for the display, and also one for the digitizer. And now there is a piece right here that needs to be installed and screwed down as to keep these connectors in place. So now we have the display in place, and this plate is holding down the ribbon cables with these 3 screws. Now we just need to put the battery in. And that's fairly straightforward. I don't have any type of double-sided adhesive, so we're just going to go with it. Just making sure to support the display so it doesn't fall. And we just need to attach the battery here. I want to test the display before closing it up, make sure that everything is turning on at least. And of course, I just connected the ribbon cable onto the main board for the battery. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this guy to turn on. Hold this down. And we see an Apple logo. Now the home button right now is not going to be working until I close down the case. Because we have metal contacts right here, that touched down onto these ones right here. But we can just see if it works. And yeah, well, battery's low here, but We've got this display working. So this is a compelling reason enough to close her on up. We've got these final metal pieces here that I need to screw in order to hold down the ribbon cables here, especially for the battery. Okay, so now the battery plates are screwed in. Loudspeaker's working just fine. Vibrate switch is also working. Buttons are working. The fact that it's able to find Wi-Fi networks means that the Wi-Fi antenna is working. Great. Now there are some hooks here underneath the display that hook underneath the casing. So we're supposed to just push inward like so, starting from the top, and we're just supposed to press downward. Now when you're pressing downward, you need to be very careful because if you bend this, you end up bending the plastic frame. It ends up lifting the adhesive and the display just doesn't stick down properly anymore. So I was very careful and I finally got the display down. I just need to replace some screws down here, but really this is the done deal. You can see that it's getting cell reception just fine. All the antennas are working great. The display is working great. I noticed at first that the home button was not working, so I took it apart, re-put it back together again. Now it's working, so maybe something was just loose or something weird. See, it works just fine, the home button. So this is a fully working iPhone 5. It is a custom iPhone 5 now. Let's go ahead and open the camera. Yes, hello, Mr. Camera, working just fine. And the front-facing camera is working just fine as well. So, yay, excellent. It is working. The speakers are working. All antennas and radios are working. Bluetooth is also working. So now I just have to give this thing away. What do you guys think of it? Fancy schmancy and custom here. I actually really like this. I would totally use a phone that looks like this. It seems that white and black are all the rage right now. So tell me what you guys think if this is something that you are interested in. You've also got the black accented SIM tray as well. I need to figure out now how I'm going to orchestrate this giveaway, but this is working, I promise. It's a great little phone. The display is actually nice as well. Now I just got to do a hard reset to get all my crap off of it. But there you go! And please check out the destruction video of the iPhone 5. All the parts that are in here right now were taken out of that previous iPhone 5 and now put into this one. Pretty cool, eh? So this has been Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Please stay tuned for the giveaway. I need to figure out how I'm going to be doing this exactly. I will keep you updated, I promise. I'm incredibly excited that this is working and that I did not break anything. So there you go. Have a good night, everyone.